Matt Simons, Darryl the Guru Johnson are now joined by Dan Dibley and Mark Willard. It is the crossover. What's up, gentlemen? How are you doing?
Oh, Steiny.
Wow.
Not
Ouch.
doing great. Yeah.
Both of them.
Ouch.
Man, yeah,
Ouch.
I mean, wow. I mean, where to begin, where to end. I know where we will begin, and you'll begin by going over the game, but where do you end? This probably doesn't end for a very, very, very long time, because this one to me leaves a bigger mark, a bigger bruise than the last loss to Kansas City. That one you look at and you go, okay, 3rd and 15, he was held. Deep throw to Emmanuel Sanders, should have connected. Jimmy Garoppolo, come on. I mean, he's not going to win you the game. But yesterday,
we didn't think that then, though.
No,
you didn't come in here the next morning and everyone was like,
but this
right?
one to me lasts a lot longer in terms of the woulda, the coulda, and the shoulda.
I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with you, but at the same time,
you can do it.
No, I'm actually trying to remember exactly what the emotions of that Monday morning were. I'm trying to remember, and it did feel different than this, but I don't know why. Because you know, it's a similar type of expectation, I think, going into the game. That 10-point lead was in the fourth quarter rather than the first quarter. We didn't think then about Jimmy Garoppolo what we think now. We didn't have something to compare him to. I'm going to agree with you, I guess, only on this front. We felt all year that this was a better team than that one was. That team, remember, was not even – I had a preseason video that they were going to go 10-6, and everyone called me an absurd homer.
Homie.
Which, you know, that happens every week anyway. but that team was not even supposed to be good. And then they went to the Super Bowl. This team, we saw them coming from August on. And so maybe that's why it hurts more.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I don't consider either one of them more of a quote unquote choke job. And we handed it to them. And the shoulda. I was just telling the guys in the other room, that's what they're doing in Kansas City today if the Niners win that game. Like, we never look at it through that lens, and that's what I always try to do. The Chiefs fumbled the ball 4 times. They threw an interception. We didn't. They had what I would argue was set up to be an epic penalty on 3rd and 13 in overtime, a defensive hold that gift wraps a first down for the 49ers.
Oh, man.
And then they go on to score points. So
we didn't bring that up.
So they stunk a bunch too. In many respects, there were a lot of gaffes on both sides, and a lot of great plays on both sides. Yeah. It's a heavyweight bout, and I feel today like Kyle Shanahan's Niners starting to feel a little bit like Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley.
That's interesting because
I think they're great, and they're just going up against Jordan.
I'll say this: I really thought the Niners not adding Helen Keller, Ray Charles, all the greats could see that the Niners defense came to play. And that was my biggest question mark coming into this game. But being dominant, they bludgeoned. I told Sonny this. He didn't agree. I thought they were just the physicality before Greenlaw got hurt. I was like, you know what? Wilkes, kudos. Your unit, you guys are balling. And the fact, Willard, that it just kept sitting there, the sequence in the third quarter where 8 or 9 plays were passes and McCaffrey was not called upon, and I know there was holding and it was 3rd and long. Yep. But damn it, Willard, that game just reeked to me. Y'all keep playing. These are football guys to the Niners. Y'all keep effing around. These guys are going to get up out their coffin and they're going to win the game and take it away from you. So it was a great game. But, Mark, if you're a Niner fan, you got to feel like you let one go or get away.
Of course you're going to feel that way because that's the way a fan feels on Monday morning, and that's my point. It's exactly what Chiefs fans would feel today if they had lost because they gaffed a bunch of stuff
But they never were up 10. They were never up like the Niners were. Willard,
first quarter,
you got to start somewhere. It was 10-3 at half.
Yeah, and
then you get an interception and do nothing.
And they should have been up by more. And who is number one person to blame for why they were not up more in the first half?
You want to be
McCaffrey.
honest?
Christian
Thank you.
McCaffrey.
Christian
No,
McCaffrey. Okay.
Christian
okay.
McCaffrey. Because he coughed it up.
I mean,
You're welcome.
They weren't.
It's only joke today.
They
That's it, I'm
weren't.
done.
They weren't effing around. They weren't effing around. That whole third quarter thing about McCaffrey not touching the ball. I ask everyone before, you can have whatever opinion you want, but go read the play-by-play first. Just go read the play-by-play. And if you're so enamored with Andy Reid today, ask yourself what Andy Reid would have done. First down, incomplete pass, then false start, 2nd and 15. Would you run the ball? It's 2nd and 15. Would you?
But it was still
and what were they, and what were they going to do when they false started?
It was not 3-3.
No, it wasn't. And what were they going to do on the false start?
They were going to run it.
It's a run play.
Yeah.
It's a run play. It's why he false started, because he was trying to pull, and he went too early. And so that was going to be a run play. And now it's 2nd and 15. You don't run it. Then you get the ball again. First down. Blitz gets to Purdy. He throws it out to hot route. Jawan Jennings loses 8 yards. 2nd and 18. You want him to run? You want to run the ball? On 2nd and 18?
Throw something in the flat to
did.
McCaffrey,
They
Willard.
did.
You writing
Go.
that text yesterday is almost like Steiny saying, I'm happy with my team.
No.
Damn it, they tricked that game off.
No, they
the
didn't.
O-line didn't show up.
No.
And then
I'm
you
not
want to
getting
blame
into-
Moody,
I'm
the
not gonna do
kicker,
shouting
on
matches
getting it
with
black. You ain't got to
you.
get in the shouting match,
not gonna do
Willard.
it.
But sometimes you got to call a spade,
No,
damn
I
it.
don't. I'm
They
calling
did not show up. The coaching didn't show up.
All right.
The special teams didn't show up. The defense showed up.
Okay.
You don't have to yell, but you can't just throw out rose petals
So did the
and
Chiefs
say they
defense
didn't
show up?
mess
Goo?
up. They didn't give the game away.
Take a breath. Did the Chiefs defense show up?
Yes.
They did.
Because the Niner offense went MIA.
I thought the Niner offense.
MIA, Mark.
I thought the Niner offense gaffed the whole thing
no,
away.
It did because it didn't add.
Did the
it was
Chiefs
supposed
offense
to be the strength of your team.
Did the Chiefs offense gaff it away in the first half when they couldn't get a first down?
Yes, because the Niners defense was doing their thing.
And the Chiefs defense then was doing their thing. Yeah. These are great teams, and they mess your plan up because they're great. The same way the Niners messed Mahomes up for an hour and a half.
So what's your big takeaway about the game?
My takeaway is that two great teams battled in a heavyweight fight and body blow. So
nothing to see here with the Niners did
nothing to
wrong.
see here, but you don't. He said it to you all day. You don't. There's not a rule that you have to show up the next day and blame someone. There's not a rule, Goo.
Did you listen to the show? Nobody blamed it. I didn't. Who? Give me a who did I blame?
You've been blaming.
Hold on, Scotty. Who did I blame?
Instagram video last night, and you're torching Kyle Shanahan. You did it, Goo. You did it.
Is calling for his head, Mark.
No, you're not calling for his head because you learned, because you already tried that once.
You called me out Thursday when I was listening, and I text you and I said situational play calling is the one improvement that Kyle Shanahan could be enhanced.
What does that mean,
Yesterday's game.
What does that mean?
Going away from 23, however you get him the ball.
He didn't go away from it.
Where was he? 8 or 9 plays, his number was not called.
Yeah, 30 touches.
And then in overtime, let's ride him like a mule. Oh, guess what? We score. Come on, man.
30 touches.
It's okay to criticize Kyle.
You're allowed. Nobody's saying it's not, but you should have an actual point. All I hear is anger.
The point was his second Super Bowl loss after having a 10-point lead. That ain't good enough in your world.
No one's talking.
He's 0-2, Mark, in the Super Bowl.
Yes, he's 0-2.
Those are facts.
That's right. He's exactly where Andy Reid was.
But you're going to paint a different picture.
No.
Hey, I get it.
If I tell you, I agree with everything you said.
I'm done with you. We did 4 hours of, everything's great. He got you to the Super Bowl.
No,
go ahead, Steiny.
I vehemently disagree with your one statement where you say the 49ers tricked off the game.
That's how I believe.
And I just see it as they got beat.
Yep.
And
where was George Kittle?
And they weren't quite good enough. And
what do you mean, where was
I don't
George
believe
Kittle?
the 49ers
I'm asking you, where was George Kittle?
Do you know that he was the intended receiver on the Juwan Jennings trick play? Did you know that?
Did you know that? I'm asking.
Did you know that?
You have to keep him in the block. You need to revamp your O-line, Mark. And that's something I overrated. I overrated this weaponry, Dibs, this ability to stretch the field, which they're not doing against top-tier defenses.
Couldn't stretch the field because your pass rush, the Chiefs' pass rush was too strong. And also give them credit for what they did against Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, who had 10 targets and 3 catches. They took away your deep throws every chance you got, even when they were open. and we just were in there with the boss, Matt Nahigian, and we all had a long look at the play where, Purdy was pressured on third down, and you had Ayuk all alone in the end zone, and Jennings was open in the right flat. He had no time. So
it was a blown block.
It was blown.
The
offensive line. The offensive line.
Brock for that. I didn't.
That's wrong. Yeah. There's an offensive line blown assignment, and the offensive line is actually what I would address first and foremost this offseason. No. Obviously, you need now a new linebacker too, which is heartbreaking and disgusting and very, very difficult to swallow. But the offensive line pass blocking. Now that you have a quarterback who can throw the ball downfield, the pass blocking needs to be better. And
I agree with that.
And a 39-31 split of passes to runs in a football game against Patrick Mahomes in the NFL in the playoffs is completely acceptable to me. 30 touches for McCaffrey is completely acceptable to me. So it's not a choke job. It's not a gaffe. It's not a tricked off. It's not any of that. There were certain spots, offensive line being one of them, and special teams being another. Because, by the way, don't let this one go away. They drafted a kicker in the third round, and yes, he was mostly good this year, but it bit him. An extra point, you kick the bottom of the ball. When you hit it into the line like that on an extra point, that's on the kicker, because you can elevate the ball right over a human being so that they can't reach it. But he hit the middle of the ball, and that is on Jake Moody, and we will never know what the Chiefs would have done down 4. Twice.
He did make 3 field goals and had a record
yes, he
for a
did.
few minutes.
Yes, he did. But if it was 17-13 rather than 16-13 with 5 minutes to go, we have no idea what the Chiefs would have done on 4th down, and we have no idea if it would have been effective. And it may have cost them the game. And obviously the Luter play, that is his fault. That is his fault. He cannot be there. The call went out, and he has got to vacate the area. That's another special teams mistake.
But what about the time ticking off the clock from Kyle, and he doesn't call a timeout? Then he said, I'm going to call a timeout right before halftime. You could have saved yourself 40 seconds to try to be aggressive and go down and score. And again, I'm not saying that's why they lost the game, Mark, but that's the little stuff that can be big stuff in a game like that.
Yeah, they all could have done a little more. There were so many guys. Trent Williams could have been a little bit better.
Had a bad game.
Brock Purdy could have been better. Just a little bit better. Ayuk could have been a little bit I know I'm not being condescending at all. It wasn't quite a Super Bowl winning performance.
But I agree with you. You know what I was thinking about when you guys were saying that? How would you answer that question if you were talking about the Chiefs? Who was amazing? Who was amazing?
One guy was able to make some.
Mahomes
plays.
Was himself. I wouldn't have. It wasn't.
Does Spagnuolo count? What if I said
Mark, I think.
He's a great coach.
His timing of the blitzes were incredible.
He's a great coach, but Steve Wilkes didn't have a bad day.
No,
they were.
I think the difference in that game.
Who was great?
To me, it's Mahomes was just a little better than Purdy.
And Mahomes is better than Purdy.
Right,
he's better than everybody.
Right,
but he had 8 chances to be better, Steiny, because the Niners couldn't add.
What do you mean?
They had enough time. They stopped Mahomes, in that third quarter interception was so symbolic to me because there was no Greenlaw, and I'm thinking maybe they go in, they see their brother, they can't play. You get an interception. My point to Steiny is, Mahomes ended up being great because you gave him so many chances by not taking advantage of the opportunities your defense gave you.
Why don't you give the Chiefs defense? Why don't you say the Chiefs defense was better than the Niners?
But I don't feel like it was.
It was yesterday.
But why don't you look at it the other way, too?
Give it to him.
The Chiefs had opportunities that they blew. They fumbled the ball at the 10-yard line.
That they did.
You know what I mean? It's just, for me, it's a practice of like you used the phrase, Dibs, that you do this on social media, they come to your house and take your pants off.
Treat you like a Waymo vehicle.
Credit the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They made plays in big moments. Chris Jones did it again. It's the same damn guy that ruined the game 4 years ago.
Spagnuolo was better than Shanahan.
He's a great coach.
He was better than Shanahan.
He's a great coach.
Yeah, he was a great coach, and they had a great scheme, and they did not get distracted by all that eye candy and all those motions. They brought a lot of pressure. The Niners couldn't block it.
But what about Brendel? If he doesn't miss the assignment, what happens?
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Here's where I'll go. I always use this one. This is something that I learned from the great Don Nelson.
We all could
always
use a toke right now.
made a distinction between losing and getting beat. And he would always make that distinction. And when somebody said, "Did you lose tonight?" he would sometimes say yes, and other times he would say, "No, we got beat tonight." When you look at it through that scheme, and I look at the 49ers yesterday, you may disagree, that's fine. I think they got beat yesterday.
I agree with you.
I don't think they lost the game. That other doesn't mean they didn't have opportunities, but that other team got them. They beat them.
Well, they gave Kansas City a lot of chances to beat them, and that's where I take some issue.
That's fine.
And we can talk about overtime, and we will for the next 4 hours as to how you want to approach it, because we all think, oh, you want the ball. You want the ball first, but now that we look at it from the rearview mirror, you probably don't want the ball first. You want to, and forget the third possession.
Did you know
because
the
we
rules,
didn't.
Dibs, real
I
quick?
knew the rules,
the new rules,
but I didn't think about it in terms of the third possession.
Me neither.
Which
I mentioned it last night on Twitter Spaces that as the clock is running down. It's okay. It's just the end of the first quarter of overtime. The game is not a 15-minute overtime. We're going to go ahead and change it.
I was like, what are you guys doing?
To not think of it like that.
It is unsettling. It's unsettling where you're like, it's overtime of the Super Bowl, and everybody's just lollygagging.
Seemed like they were like, it's not over, Tony.
Right,
We're going to go to commercial.
They were like, yeah, they can score here. They can wait for the second quarter. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Totally.
Man.
Totally.
To me, the third possession thing is a complete hammer in this conversation, especially if the concept is Mahomes. Well, you have to assume Mahomes is going to get a touchdown. Well, if that's the case, my God, you have to take the ball first, because if your concept is we defer because we want to know what we need. Do we need a touchdown? Do we need a field goal? Whatever. Well, but in theory, you're saying Mahomes definitely going to get a touchdown. Now, you brought up something interesting, Dibs, which is if the Chiefs get the ball, go get a touchdown. You go down and get a touchdown, go for two.
Yeah.
Because
Dan Campbell, win the damn game.
Which I think is too much. I think people would lose their minds if the Super Bowl came down to that. But
because the Jake Moody PAT is automatic, right?
But, yeah, exactly. That third possession to me, if you're still tied and you give Pat the ball and you're like, all you need is a field goal, it's sudden death. Like, you can't do that. I think you got to take the ball. You have to take the ball.
Yeah.
I got my buddy Harry.
You got to take the ball.
He said you got to defer there.
Why?
I can just tell you
Do you
the
know
thinking.
how criticized he would get if all
but hold on.
You get sudden death.
But
you get the ball.
Well, it's not sudden death.
No, but if you if you match each other on that first possession,
right,
then you're giving Pat the ball, sudden death, and all he needs is 3.
But if you take the ball first and you turtle up, which is kind of what your approach is because you're Kyle Shanahan and you don't want to go for it in that spot because you don't have to, you take the 3. Well, here comes Pat Mahomes, and he's licking his chops because he knows that I got 3 covered. My kicker's going to make it from 60. I'm going for 7.
Let's not call it automatic. They had scored 1 touchdown in that point in the whole game, and it was when they gave him the ball in the red zone. 1 time. So they had not driven the length of the field the whole day.
They just drove all over you, though, for the field goal.
I know.
And I think that they would have scored a touchdown if they needed it in that fourth quarter.
That's a fair point, but at the same, let's not act like it just like Pat, just 80 yards touchdown, no doubt.
It was starting to go that way. The game was, I think the game was trending toward Kansas City's offense.
You're not wrong.
Greenlaw out,
They
and I think
something
Diamond Lenore was hurt at that point. Your Niner defense was a who's who at that juncture.
They were worn out.
They were worn out and they were injured.
I feel like, okay, if you truly knew the rule, which was we both get the ball for sure, no matter what. At that point, you're saying, okay, so we're playing a quarter of football. Let's defer like we always defer because that's what we do and we have time here. Like the one thing I did think was, and I get it, if they score, you score, it's back to Mahomes. But
you only need 3.
But the way I look at it is by deferring, you can almost say we're going to take the last shot away from Mahomes. Well, how? Well, I know it's crazy, but They score a touchdown, you got to get a touchdown, and maybe people's heads do fall off because you go for 2 because you're saying, we're not giving the ball back to Mahomes.
I can hear that. Or to me, though, it's one or the other. If you're going to defer, you're committing to that.
Maybe.
I'm going for 2 if we score a touchdown.
I didn't think about that, honestly, until just now.
But there's no way in hell I'm handing the ball to Patrick Mahomes, and all he's got to do is cross midfield, sudden death to win the game.
Exactly.
I'm not like... So I'm a fan of take the ball.
But here's the other thing. Like, I don't think
that's the percentage.
So they ended up taking the ball, the 49ers.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they score a field goal. Like, I don't have a problem. And I get it's Mahomes. But I don't have a problem with saying, can we get one stop?
Right.
What do you mean by a stop? Just not a 75-yard touchdown drive. I'll bet on my defense. What?
I mean, 30 seconds later, it was 4th down.
I know
it was only a half yard, but like...
Right, and he picked up, 17 on that play?
8. He picked up 8.
I mean, it felt like a lot more.
I know.
You're
thinking of the later run. Well, I thought he was going to run that thing in.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to go all the way.
I think where your defense was in terms of the fatigue and the injury factor, I would have much rather... And I know it's hard to put them right back out.
Yeah,
because they just
about
had
what you're
10.
saying.
They had a 10-play drive. They were on the field. But you got like 5-minute cooling off period. I would rather give my quarterback a chance to go out and match Mahomes as opposed to what happened. You get the field goal, and then you're feeling like, well, geez.
So you'd go for 2?
I would go for 2.
No,
absolutely.
man.
Let's go.
Can you imagine?
And you know what?
I mean, people would just be vomiting on their couch.
As we're all going to bury Kyle Shanahan, let's give him a couple
I'm not
props
burying him.
4th down. I'm not saying you.
Oh, he should have won the Super Bowl because of that call.
4th down. Kittle picks it up, and also the trick play for the touchdown.
Come on,
Kyle took some chances down.
I mean, could you imagine?
I wonder what
he not got that 4th and 3.
I wonder what the odds are if Kansas City scores a touchdown. Now the 49ers in overtime. We're in overtime. Score a touchdown. What are the odds at that point of the 49ers winning the game with a 2-point conversion?
Man.
Versus Patrick Mahomes is going to have the ball at the 25-yard line, and he score and you lose. Like those odds might be pretty close.
Well, the 2-point conversion is 55% in terms of converting it, and Mahomes getting 40 yards?
Dude, you could almost
99.8%.
But that tells me
feels like.
You could almost make a case that the analytics say they should go for 2. Rather than let Mahomes operate with a tie game.
See, I would do what they did. Take the ball.
No, what about the hypothetical? I'm talking about the hypothetical. You kick at 7.
Yeah, what if the Chiefs get the ball first, go down, score a touchdown, and they go for 2?
Yeah.
Well, then you got to go for 3.
I mean, my time running out, Willard. I got to get your thoughts.
I keep telling you guys, stay as long as you want.
My dad is 82. I love you, Norm. Unfortunately, he didn't win. He had the Niners.
1-1-2.
Andy Reid is 65. Forget the usher. I wanted to get that, but I'm going here. I don't think the 50-plus years on this earth I've ever seen anything more sickening than Kelce almost knocking Andy Reid over. I felt like Norm was Andy Reid. Dibs was looking at me like, you're soft. But that was, I wanted them to lose more. That just bothered, and he got away with it.
Wow.
It's because he's a player's coach. And Goo, I don't know how much coaching you've done.
Yeah.
But I've had
Eddie House.
I had a high school player dress me down repeatedly in my early days of coaching high school boys volleyball.
But he didn't hit you. He didn't bump into you,
probably
man.
wanted to. And you know what, Andy? What's he going to do to Andy? He's not going to come at Andy. He was expressing himself vehemently.
Wow.
And Andy,
to me,
do you feel like he meant to bump him? Like
no,
that's
but
I look at
it was rage. It was a rage, almost like I don't give a damn if I bump you.
Well,
I'm going to say
he's incredibly emotional.
To me, there were 2 things that happened there that I found interesting. One is, he did it. We didn't see any replay. Like, one and done.
That's interesting.
D-O-N-E, done. Travis Kelce does that. Done. No replays.
It's making its
Could we have said that if it were another player, maybe without that kind of reputation? I think we would have seen it more.
See, huh? You guys were.
I think we would have seen it more.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll throw it out.
If it were Antonio Brown.
Well, sure, if it was
Okay.
Antonio Brown. Well, and A.J. Brown.
Yes.
A.J. Brown tweeted about it. Did you see what he said?
I didn't know.
Oh, he said he would get kicked out of the league.
Exactly. Like
I missed
that, I believe there's something to.
Absolutely.
double standard.
Of course.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got going.
Well,
in
he
the second
needs
half.
Travis Kelce. What's he going to do?
Well, no,
No, the Eagles don't need A.J. Brown.
Well, Mike Singletary sent Vernon Davis to the locker room at
Can't do
halftime.
it.
Exactly, that whole thing. So, every coach handles it differently.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
All right, Chance. Man,
Willard, we did have a play to catch on Friday.
I gotta go.
Did
He
you
was like,
guys?
give me the
I gotta go.
confirmation
Why would you ever
number.
take me
No,
seriously?
it was him. It wasn't me.
A lot of listeners took you seriously too. Steiny, what's going on with you and Steiny? Why does Willard sweat? I don't
boy.
know.
Well, no, you do. You
Hey,
do
guys
get
have a-
very excited to leave.
You guys,
Can you just own it?
No.
Own it.
Can
Look at
you
you.
own it?
Your
Look at
entire
you.
body momentum
Dude,
language is.
we, do you know we had a 10-minute talk with Tim Jordan before the
boy.
show about equipment? We all had to help him with
But what
equipment.
about right now? Why are you doing it again right
Yeah,
now?
look at him.
Where you gotta go? But you're
Really
body
do hate being with Dibs alone, don't you?
Why you gotta
On
stop doing
95.7.
this? Oh boy.
I love
Hey,
you.
where'd you
buddy.
watch the game?
I was solo at my home.
Nice, in the cave.
No, it wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. I would have rather been out and about on 95.7.
The game.